All right, folks, for this Reddit story from r/MaliciousCompliance, you'll need to set your time machines to the early 2000s, a time of MySpace, Windows XP, and dial-up connections. This is the story of how a fifth grader created an entire arcade in their school computer lab. Alrighty, let's dive in. Once upon a time, there were no iPhones, no Wi-Fi, social media was MySpace, and YouTube was pretty much just a shell of its current self. The internet had just hatched from its egg and needed time to grow into what it is today. But as a kid in the early 2000s, that wasn't helpful when you wanted to play games at any current moment. And in school, because your parents wouldn't let you play them on a weekday, and you didn't have a Game Boy. So there I was, bored to death in the 5th grade because I didn't like school that much, and that meant on Monday I'd have to wait 5 days to eventually get back to playing Star Wars Battlefront, the better version, not the new trash, or Burnout 3. As there was in most elementary schools, we had a computer lab. It was big enough to host one classroom of 40 students, and then some, and had state-of-the-art Dell computers with Windows XP. For the most part, we were limited to a few educational PC games, Microsoft Office, and the Internet, which was limited by the firewall to just the educational sites and Disney's Flash games. They did have the Oregon Trail, but I was too stupid at the time to play it more than 10% of the way through without losing my money or everyone dying. The computer lab was accessible before school between 7 and 8:30 a.m. during 2 breaks, breakfast for 20 minutes, lunch for 40 minutes, and after school. The only problem was there was nothing exciting to play. I'd try every game website I knew, but the result was always the same. I tried mini-clips, free online games, and Newgrounds with no success. Okay, fine. How about Nickelodeon? You cannot access this website. I guess they don't like SpongeBob. One day, my older brother, the computer whiz, finds out about how to download Flash games from around the internet onto his local hard drive, which is as simple as taking the cookies from where they're stored onto your computer into an easily accessible location. Now, we start building a repository of all our favorite games from the internet, but the only way we can play them for now is on the weekends and through the Flash player. No matter. We have a repository, except at the time I didn't really know what else to do with it. Honestly, I have my older brother to thank for a lot of this since he was really into computers and the internet, because the next find was really important. freewebs.com, the free website hosting site. There's only so much a 10-year-old can do with this, but I spent hours designing and playing with the website. I'd substitute game time with free website designing. It wasn't necessarily a video game, so my parents didn't mind me on it, and I found out that it wasn't a blocked website at school, so I'd just keep building websites in my free time. Once a website was finished, I'd build another, continuously improving and upgrading and designing with new combinations. It went on like that for about a week, and I'd have 5 free websites built in that time. And then I found that you could upload Flash components on a page. Now imagine, you're 10 years old and you just found out that Pandora's box is standing right in front of you and you can do whatever you want with it. What do? Keep it to yourself? Tell an adult about this newly discovered volatile power? Hide it and make sure nobody else can use it for evil? Close, but not quite. I embedded a healthy variety of Flash games on that page, from the really meaty ones like Drag Racer version 3 and the Murloc RPG to some miscellaneous light ones. This was a trial run after all. I just needed to know if it worked and, if it did, how far I could push it. I did my work and went to sleep a little early that night because curiosity got the better of me more than staying up past my bedtime did. That next day, I walked into the computer lab right when it opened up, the only one to walk in, and went straight for the website to the page where I embedded the games. I remember being so anxious about whether or not it would work, and the uncertainty was nagging to me ever since the car ride to school. The games worked. Not all of them worked amazing, but they worked. Drag Racer had a save function, so all I could really do was play arcade mode, which was fine with me, but just about everything else worked as I expected them to. The problem I did find was that space on the website filled up quite quickly, and I told myself that night I would embed more games on the other sites I built. I'd focus only on games that I could play casually, not lengthy ones like Murloc, because if I couldn't save, then there was really no point in playing them. By the time I left the computer lab that morning, there were 3 other kids. This trend would continue no matter when I went. I went home that night fixing everything I could. When I reached my perceived limit, about 20 small games on the main site, I would load more games to another site. Eventually, I would move to fixing each website so they were separated by categories: action, shooter, racing, etc. But as far as I was concerned, it was a problem for future me. I'd go to sleep early again, be the first and only one in the computer lab, and be one of only a handful of kids that would stay there. That would go on for several weeks. One day, the computer lab was busier than usual, which was fine because that was 10 kids and I was guaranteed a computer I could sit down and play at. A group of maybe 3 of those kids saw me playing on my websites, and without asking for a link, just looking at the URL on my browser, they started playing. For now, it was just me and those 3 kids, and I really didn't think much of it. I went home that day just thinking about playing another game and switching up the website so I could navigate it easier. I went to sleep and got to the computer lab the next day, the first one there. A little while later, more kids started walking in. Day by day, there were more kids coming in. By the end of the week, it was half full. A week after that, no more than 10 computers were left vacant. Eventually, on the guest book, FreeWebs had this to allow you to comment on the website. I had commenters. I saw everything, from fans of the website just saying hello to kids who wanted to play a certain game from a certain site. It became a thing where I would read the requests during the day, make note of what games I could actually add on what website, then download them and replace them later that night. Months later, the websites I built packed that whole computer lab. I even remember a day when I walked in late and there were kids watching each other play when they couldn't get on a computer themselves. I couldn't even find a computer I could get on. But adolescent me felt a strange sense of accomplishment and pride seeing so many people recognize the work that it took to build something they could all enjoy. Unfortunately, over spring break, the school district also recognized my work and rewarded me with a firewall notification the Monday I returned. I was upset, but looking back on it, I realized that I followed the rules so well that it caught the adults' attention. It was interesting because I wouldn't talk to any of the other kids playing games. Nobody knew it was me who created this. And I felt like the mastermind sitting in plain sight who was the reason everyone was here. I don't think anyone connected the dots that I was the reason the computer lab was completely packed. It's probably not a great r/malicious compliance, but it is a story I think about from time to time. All right, folks, first of all, this made me remember that website alfie.com where I would play this game Pang for hours at a time. And also, did anybody ever play that game Dinky Bomb? Bring on the nostalgic internet games in the comments below. Anyways, let's talk about this digital Picasso we've got here. Imagine being stuck in the most boring place on earth, also known as school, and yet finding a way to turn it into your own personal arcade. I can almost picture the scene, kids flocking to the computer lab, not for the next lesson on how to type with 2 fingers, but to get their gaming fix. Teachers are probably scratching their heads wondering why there's a sudden interest in computer literacy. I also love the detail of how he was reading the guest book comments and taking game requests. I mean, not only is he a tech rebel, he's a people's champ as well. But like all great stories, our hero's journey had to face a bit of a plot twist. The school district finally catches on and boom, they drop the firewall hammer. It's like the gaming version of the Cinderella story, but instead of the clock striking midnight, the firewall comes up. But you know what? I bet our friend walked away from that experience with some of the best school memories ever. That kid will never get the recognition as that one kid who managed to create an entire arcade for the whole school. What a legend. Hey, wait! Before you go off chasing after your next internet rabbit hole, give that like button a quick little smack. And if you're feeling particularly adventurous today, why not dance with the subscribe button? Join our band of misfits here and let's share the laughter. Anyways, stay safe out there in that crazy world. Much love. Peace.